All right. So, Mark, you and I are sharing a line, so we'll have to. So anything you do, I can hear. Will be broadcast. All right. So we'll open with a nice, simple centering meditation to create an open space for this call. And just take a moment to empty your hands if you have anything in your hands, and just create a quiet space for yourself for the next few moments. And sometimes it's helpful if you have reading glasses, take your glasses off and set those aside. And as you get comfortable, have a sense and an awareness of your body in your chair, just bring your attention to your body. And slowly begin to draw in a cleansing breath. And as you breathe in, hold the intention of cleansing your space and any tension. Just drawing in a cleansing breath. You don't have to picture the tension or know where it needs to go. Just trust that the breath is going to come in and clear out your space for you effortlessly. And as you exhale, have a sense of releasing any energy, thought, tension, anything that you don't need in this moment. Just have a sense of that dripping away. Just being released from your space at this time. And do that a few times with a cleansing breath, clearing your space. And an exhale, releasing whatever you don't need in this moment. And on your next breath, have a sense of dropping deeper into your physical body with your exhale. Have a sense of dropping down, just being that much more present in this moment. And have a sense of affirming your grounding anchor point. This is your connection with the earth. This is taking ownership of the space that you occupy on the planet. And have a sense of the density of the Earth's energy and presence grounding you, drawing you into itself. This is sort of where we get plugged in. Have a sense of this Earth's energy drawing up into your body, grounding you, further releasing and drawing and attracting anything that's not needed in your space right now and bringing it back into the earth to be recycled. And sometimes when we're thinking a lot or we're having trouble focusing, you can have the sense of lines of energy or actual anchors off of a boat dropping off of you into the earth, into the center of the earth, just really rooting you into the earth, soil, and energy. And having a sense of being grounded and anchored into your place on the earth that is your birthright, that is your space that only you can occupy. And having a sense of being more present in your body, connected with your physical body. We're going to put our attention on our mind, our intellectual processing, our analytical, pragmatic mind. and have a sense of where your attention is, and have a sense of just drawing your attention back into your head, behind your processing part of your brain, and just dropping back. There's no problems that we need to resolve in this moment. There's no conversations or emails we need to send, that we can just let that go and have a sense of our attention rocking back behind our analytical mind. Sometimes if you picture just reclining in a lazy boy or rocking back in a rocking chair, just effortlessly releasing your attention to a place further in your head. And as we find ourselves resting in this place, we have a sense of alignment from our creative, intuitive center here, with a line straight down our spine through our energy centers into our connection into the earth. And it's from this place that we access our higher knowing, our intuitive information, all the solutions that we seek. This is the place that we can access that unfiltered. And have a sense of affirming that connection from this place in your head to the universal highway of information, that there's every resource that we need to move forward on our path is accessible in this place and through this place. And through this is the portal to which we access the information we need. And when we're aligned and grounded with the earth, we can draw that information into our presence and really utilize it. Just take a moment to affirm that we are surrounded by abundance. We have access to all of the information, all of the tools, all of the resources that we need. We have access to the infinite creativity that is available in the universe, and that we don't have to figure it out with our mind. We don't have to understand how it works. It's like electricity. We switch on the light and the light goes on. We don't think about the channels the electricity is going or how that circuitry works. We know it, and that's the same for accessing this information. We affirm that we are now drawing in everything we need to take the next step on our path. And we create an opening for success, whether it's a tool or a person or an idea, an inspiration, that we are now drawing that into our space. We're creating awareness of what that tool or that person is that we need to take this next step. And from this open space, this receptive space, and as we move into the call with Marc, that we maintain that open space and hold the intention that we are drawing into our space and into our consciousness the tools and people and resources that are going to play with us on our path as it unfolds before us. whenever you're ready, Mark, we'll move into talking about the essentials for success.
Thank you, Gina. I think your intro is my favorite part of my talks, because I just kick back and relax. Very good. I see more and more the value of expressing things simply. The simpler, the better. And as I get older, I try to find even simpler and simpler ways to understand and express these things. Because the most important work we're doing is not with our conscious mind, but it's using our conscious mind to impress things on our subconscious mind. And it seems clear to me that the simpler the terms we use, the more quickly and more deeply we impress our subconscious. And then that's where great change happens. So I try to keep it simple. And it occurred to me one day, there's really just 3 simple things necessary to really succeed. What does succeed mean? Well, succeed as you define success. To me, it seems obvious that success is doing what I love to do, doing it in my own way, and having a real abundance as a result. The day I turned 30, I picked up a sheet of paper and wrote, ideal scene at the top, and dared imagine my ideal life. I imagined 5 years had passed, and everything had gone as well as it could imagine. What would my life look like? That tricked me into a wonderful thing. It tricked me into getting my priorities straight. I look at the world today and this financial crisis the media loves talking about, and I see, they don't have one of their, all these companies that are struggling, they don't have one of these 3 simple things in place. So they've simply forgotten one of these 3 simple things. And more I see all of our problems and all of our opportunities in very simple terms, and then it helps me deal with them. I did an emergency teleseminar on becoming recession-proof and stressed that the most important thing is how we think and our attitude and how we react to things. It's not what the world out there is doing. The media is constantly reacting to the world out there and telling us how bad it is, and then that generates a whole lot of fear and apparently sells more newspapers and gets more eyeballs glued to the TV. And so the media loves crisis and fear. And this whole recession we're in is, a lot of it, I think, is fueled by the media, and they'd say, no, they're just, reporting on what's happening. But it's people's impression that it's an economic slowdown, so we'll tighten our belts, and it goes round and becomes this self-fulfilling thing, where if we fear it and we're very active in our fears, they become self-fulfilling. Well, I don't choose to look at the world that way. I want to create a success that sets me up regardless of what outside circumstances do. And all the great teachers I've read have said that that's entirely possible. Not only is it possible, many people are doing it. Many people have come to a place where they're recession-proof. I've come to a place where I'm recession-proof. And I see how so much of it is attitude. As you hear all people are getting laid off. So there's every day thousands and thousands more people getting laid off from job. Oh, this is serious. This recession might end up being a depression. There's all these different economic indicators that define the words. If stock market's down 20%, that's a recession. Okay, we're into a recession now. And there's a whole lot of fear associated with all that. But what I choose to focus on is doing what I love to do and succeeding in my own way, and then given that, what are the opportunities in front of me in any given situation? Right now, there's many, many opportunities, as always, in front of every one of us, regardless of the economic situation. In fact, there's certain benefits in this economic situation. People are learning more to live within their means. Maybe Americans will learn to live within our means rather than on credit. People certainly want our kinds of books in this situation. It's a wake-up call for a whole lot of people. It's a time when, in fact, a whole lot of companies start in recessions. Microsoft, I was reading, and Apple all started in the late 70s in a recession. In fact, that's when I started my company. But I had no idea it was a recession. I was oblivious to... I was such a poverty case at the time. It didn't matter to me whether the society was in a recession or not. I just started with absolutely no capital to go for my dream. And it didn't matter then, and it doesn't matter now what's going on outside us. What we need to do is focus on our dreams within and make the outside work for us. A book I read so many, many times, I have parts of it committed to memory, James Allen, As You Think, has a great poem in it where he talks about, well, I'll tell you the poem. It's, you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content, meaning the contentment. In that poor word, environment, meaning anything out there in the outside world that supposedly limits our success. But spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time. It conquers space. It cows that boastful trickster chance and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and take a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew its way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. When we focus clearly on a goal, when we decide to do what we love to do, and focus on it, and go for it, and affirm that we're creating it, the whole universe rushes in to support us. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey, regardless of circumstances, regardless of the outside problems in the world. So, it applies in a recession, it applies in boom times, it applies in a depression. There are just three things necessary to succeed. Three simple things. And they're not difficult. They're just quite different in terms of their energies. The first is our product or service. That's obvious, right? We need a product or service. The key here is to do what you love to do and to remember, too, what your purpose is in doing that. You have some purpose, and the purpose always is in serving yourself and others. In serving ourselves, we set up something that serves others. In serving others, we set up something that serves ourselves. I was just thinking today about this whole banking crisis. How did they blow it? Well, they blew it in terms of their financial controls, but they blew it to the same reason Enron blew it, the same reason so many people have blown it. They forgot what their product or service is. They ignored that and got totally focused just on making money. Money is a terrible master, but a wonderful servant. Money serves us. Money is even you could say the blood of our business pumping through us. We need it to survive. It's vitally important, but it has no central importance whatsoever. If we make money the thing of central importance, getting money is our purpose for doing this product or service. That completely misleads us to make all these terrible decisions that so many Wall Street people, so many bankers, all the Enron executives, they made these horrible decisions because they were simply focused on making the money, and they forgot that they had a greater purpose than that. We all have a greater purpose than making money. And I'm not knocking money. I love money. I love making money. But it is a product of having a good product or service that is really serving the world in some way. That's what keeps you on track. That's where all these things, when we talk about values or ethics, or when politicians start blasting the Wall Street people or the head of Merrill Lynch or all these bankers that are self-destructing, and when they're blasting them, saying that they've gotten greedy, they've gotten corrupt, they've forgotten their purpose. That's what it boils down to for me in simple terms. I don't have to go into lengthy discussions about the importance of ethics at all. All I have to do is think, oh, okay, we have a purpose here in life, and it's to do something, and it's different with each of us. But we have a wonderful purpose. We're here to provide some kind of gift we have to the world. We're here to help other people and serve other people. And in the process, we help and serve ourselves. And that purpose is not just making money. Money's that byproduct. That purpose is some wonderful service. If the bankers would have remembered that with all these loan packages they've done, they wouldn't have ended up creating these indecipherable packages that ended up blowing up their faces, because those packages weren't serving the people that they were created to serve. The whole thing gets simple when you understand it. If Enron would have realized that their purpose was really delivering energy very efficiently to a lot of people, their purpose wasn't stashing tons of money offshore or inflating profits so that they could make more money. That's not the purpose of their business. The purpose of a business is not to make hundreds of millions for a CEO. That's not the purpose of that business. It has a much greater purpose. It is serving people with some product or some service that helps people, that helps the world, that makes the world a better place. So we need just three things together to really succeed doing whatever we want to do, whether it's as a creative artist or an entrepreneur or a self-employed person or whatever your career is. If you're working for a big corporation or if you're self-employed or somewhere in between, you still always need three things together. One is a product or service. And there, the real key to success is do what you love to do. Make that work for you. Do what you love and you'll never really work. I do what I love all day. I don't have any sense of working. I love doing this. I will do what I love to do and continue doing it. And I love the variety of my life, and I love having a whole bunch of things I do. So many people when they start working with me, I do a 16-week course with people, or I just get emails, they read my books, and do ideal seed, and they say, oh, I have so many things I want to do. I'm not even sure where to focus. Well, I say you can do a whole bunch of things, and you can do them well. You can be multi-talented and have several things going on if you just put these 3 little things in place for each one. So the first is your product or service, whatever it is. Do what you love to do and do the best possible thing you can do. That's the key to real success there. Do what you love to do and keep doing it with persistence. Don't dream too small. Go for it. Go for your dreams. Go for your most expansive dream. No one has ever regretted going for an expansive dream. No one at all. I've even said to people, even if say you're 90 years old and you decide, oh, you really wanted to be a rock star, I'd say, go for it. Go for it. It's never too late. You may not end up being a multimillionaire, fabulously successful rock star if you're 90 when you're starting to learn an instrument. But whatever progress you make along the way, you'll love every step of the way. So it's never too late to go for your dream. Do it in any way you can and go for it. You will never, ever regret it. So you just keep your dream in mind. I've found the value of making a one-page plan to reach it. You sit down, okay, how can I reach my dream in one page? How can I be successful doing what I love to do? In one page, in simple words. So your subconscious mind picks it up and starts telling you what to do next. Yeah, that's all you need, that product or service. Then you need to find some way to market and sell that product and service. For a lot of creative artists, I know for me throughout my 20s, those words, marketing and sales, were words I didn't even want to deal with. But it finally dawned on me they're absolutely essential. You don't have to do all of it yourself, but you got to make sure that part of it gets covered. The key to success in marketing and sales is have a multi-pronged strategy that does not take no for an answer. You have your product or service, then you have literally infinite ways to promote and to sell that product or service. There's a vast number of ways, and a huge number that haven't even been invented. That's why I say it's infinite. Whatever your product or service is, look at the people who have been successful with it. Whatever you can dream of doing, other people have been incredibly successful. Look at what they've done. How have they marketed their work? How have they sold it? What are they doing? Then try something, try that. Have a multi-pronged strategy. Try doing what's already been done. And if that doesn't work, try something absolutely new. Try whatever idea you have sitting up at 3 a.m. or whenever you get your ideas. Try something totally out of the box, totally new. If that doesn't work, try something else. As Bert Lahr said, the great comedian in The Wizard of Oz, he said, stay on the merry-go-round long enough and you're bound to catch the brass ring sooner or later. If you keep trying with persistence at marketing and selling the thing you love to do, you'll find a way. You'll find your venue or platform. So you've got your product or service and you find some way to market and sell it. And then the only final piece you really need is what took me 5 years after starting this business to discover. You need financial controls. Now, very few individuals that have a dream, a product or service, have the energy to both dream up that product and service and go for it there, or be the creative artist, or be the entrepreneur, and be that expensive, outgoing marketing kind of energy you need, and then be that conservative financial person. I finally found the right financial person that taught me what financial control is all about. The reason I'm so relaxed about this terrible recession in terms of our business is because I have an excellent conservative financial person who's been preparing for it for years. The right financial controls prepare you for any kind of scenario, boom or bust. She's made sure our company has all these cash reserves, and she's made sure I have cash reserves. She's made sure our expenses are really held. It's like putting a downward pressure on all kinds of expenses. We're not overstaffed. We're a lean and mean machine, and you prepare for that with financial controls. What are these financial controls I'm talking about? They too are so simple. You just, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creative artist, whatever you are, you keep your expenses down so that you get to a point as quickly as possible where your income exceeds your expenses. And then you still keep your expenses down so that you get substantial savings. You get a cushion. You get ahead of the game here. And then regardless of the situation, regardless of your success or lack of success, you keep watching all those expenses. So often when I've had meetings with my financial person, I have this impulse. I sometimes have the thought, she's raining on my parade. I have my expansive projections, and she makes her very conservative projections for the next year. And she's watching every little expense. And she even came in a while ago to my office and said, we're having a great year. 2008 was actually our best year ever. And she said, it's because of, for us, Eckhart Tolle and the Power of Now and all his books that we publish. She said, here's what our company would look like without Eckhart Tolle and his products, and gave me another sheet of income and expenses. She had the same expenses, but she had substantially lower income because Eckhart is a good chunk of our sales now. My first impression is always, gee, she's raining on my parade. Why even look at this? We have Eckhart. But then I come to really appreciate what she's saying. She's saying to me what a good CFO does, Chief Financial Officer, a good financial person, will always say to the entrepreneur, you know, you've got to look at possibilities in the future. Things may decline here, so you've got to be prepared for it. She's preparing me for the worst case scenario. That's what financial controls are. That's why most entrepreneurs don't really even like to go there. But it's so good to go there. It's so good to very carefully set your situation up so that eventually you become recession-proof. And that's why it's such a different energy. The financial person is very conservative. They're very concerned about every expense. They want to see the fattest profit percentage possible because next year sales may decline dramatically. You don't know. Things do go in cycles. It's the nature of life. There are times of boom and time of bust. Don't blow everything in the boom times so that you got nothing when these tighter times come around. With these three simple things together, you can come recession-proof. You can build success doing what you love to do, regardless of outside circumstances. If it is a recession, it may take you longer to reach your financial goals. Or you might even have a different way to reach them than you thought. Plans may change. Outer circumstances will always change. They always do keep changing. life. And we need to keep flexible. But if you keep that dream in mind, really the only failure is quitting, as someone said. The only failure is giving up. We may have all kinds of failures along the way, or things that are considered failures, things that don't work. But if we keep going for our dream with persistence, we'll get there sooner or later. We absolutely will. The only enemy we have is ourselves and our own minds, and those doubts and fears that undermine our dream and that end up telling us to give up. That's the only problem we need to deal with. We don't need to deal with problems out there in the world. Those problems are beyond our control anyway. The only thing we need to deal with is our own mind and our own intention. And absolutely, and you've probably heard this before so many times, because every successful person says it. But if you have an intention, you're going to succeed doing what you love to do, and you go for it, you will succeed doing what you love to do. Unless you undermine yourself with your own doubts and fears and then quit. The only failure is quitting. If you keep doing what you love to do with persistence, you will find a way eventually to market and sell your work. You'll find your venue. You'll find your platform. And then if you keep some sensible financial controls in place, you'll be able to set it up. You can succeed at a remarkably small level of income if you keep your expenses really low. It all depends. I'm convinced subconsciously we decide what level, even purely financially, what level we want to live on. It's usually completely subconscious. Well, we can consciously say, all right, are we happy with this level? If we are happy with this level, maybe we can simplify things and cut expenses back and really make it work at a very modest level of income and success. That's one perfectly fine way to live and to be. But another thing, we can consciously decide, I said, I want to double my income and then double it again. That was a conscious decision. I said, I want to take it up a few levels. And I got very clear the level of sales that I wanted to achieve. And I went for it. And there were all kinds of setbacks and times of recession and this and that. But eventually I got there. And it's simply because I'm persistent and I keep the goal in mind. I'm also lazy. I do not work hard. I'm unorganized. I'm forgetful. I, in a lot of ways, am not your typical successful person. But I realize that's part of my unique contribution to humanity. I can say, hey, you don't have to be type A workaholic. You don't have to work these 40-hour work weeks, which to me are inhumane. I've never in my life worked more than 25 hours in this business, focused hours a week. I bet 25 or 30 or something. You don't have to be particularly intelligent. You don't have to be educated. You don't have to be experienced. You don't have to be organized. You don't have to give up your creative life. You don't have to give up your family life, and certainly not your spiritual life, to succeed brilliantly. All you really need to do is clearly define what that success means to you and to go for it with persistence. Every time I talk, I try to give the essence of what I know away without holding anything back. And often when I try to get down to that essential level, I can hear an inner critic saying different things. Sometimes they say, well, this has been said a million times. They've heard this a million times before. Or this sounds pretty spacey or something. But then I think, yeah, even the stuff we've heard a million times before, maybe it's the million and first time we hear it, the millionth and one time we hear it, that it suddenly resonates with us and we get it. We get it in a deep way that affects our actions. Like for years I heard that phrase, work harder, not smart, or work smarter, not harder. I even got blasted somewhere, Amazon or something. His book is filled with cliches like work smarter, not harder. Well, I remember pondering that phrase, work smarter, not harder. I know that's really valuable. And I had a breakthrough with that phrase. That is a brilliant phrase. In a way, that's the essence of what I'm saying. It doesn't matter even how hard you work. Most people have this belief system that you got to work really hard to succeed, and then they undermine themselves because they're really not quite working hard enough. Or they get working so hard, they don't work smart. They don't ever step back and say, where do I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? What do I really want to do with my life? What's the big picture? We get so caught up in the day-to-day details of making that paycheck that we forget to step back and work smart, not hard. That's a brilliant phrase, and a lot of the work I'm doing with people is to say, hey, let's work smart here. What's working smart? Well, let's take the time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It doesn't have to be hours every week. It could be a few hours a month to step back, take the time, look at the big picture. Are you happy with your life? Yes, no, that becomes obvious. What do you want to be doing in 5 years? How can you possibly start this week, this month, doing something to move you toward where you want to be in 5 years? What's necessary to do that? So often people are saying, oh, I got a job and a mortgage and 3 kids. I don't have time. And I say, you got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Because you don't need a whole lot of time to get started on something. You've got evenings, you've got weekends, you've got holidays. Not that you need to even work all of those at all on your thing. But if you just take a couple hours a week focused on first making a plan for really where you want to be and then starting to move toward it, you can make incredible progress even with a family and a 40-hour work week job. If you focus on a goal and take whatever steps you can take with persistence, it doesn't require a whole lot of time to really start to make some progress. And then make it a goal. If you have a 40, 50-hour week job and all this, make it a goal to cut that job back a bit or to just carve out some time to really get focused on that creative dream you've had or that startup business you've had or whatever it is that is truly your passion. You don't want to come to the end of your life looking back with regrets. So start now. I encourage every one of you, go for your dreams in any way you can. Don't worry about the recession. Don't worry about it. There's opportunities there in this recession. There's benefits for us all. There's gifts in every situation if we but see it. So I always encourage you all to go for your dreams. Find what you want to really create, what product or service, then find some way to market that product and service, and then watch those expenses. And sooner or later, you'll make it work for you. I think that's enough for now. Let's throw the lines open to any kind of questions or feedback any of you might have. What do you do, Gina? Press star 6 if they're
Yeah, anyone who wants to ask a question, press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Hi, this is John from Concord.
Hi, John.
Hi, I saw you 12 years ago when you were promoting a visionary life at the Unity Center in Walnut Creek.
Great, I'm glad you remember that. I don't.
I wanted to tell you that I can confirm something that you said earlier. You were saying maybe it takes you 1,001 times to hear it before it sinks in.
Right.
I first heard As You Think as an audio cassette in 1988, and I kind of forgot about it. I brought it to your attention again at the Unity Center. You were doing a visionary life. And I told you I'm really sorry this isn't available anymore, and I want to thank you for putting it out on CD.
Oh, were you the guy that? Yeah,
actually, that was me.
But you said you got to have an audio out of As You Think.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that.
Very well. I've been listening to it repeatedly, and it is bringing miraculous changes into my life.
That book and audio is so powerful. As You Think by James Allen. He speaks with such absolute authority that your subconscious just accepts it as truth. You will be what you will to be. It says you will become, this is an exact quote, you will become as great as your dominant aspiration. If you cherish a vision, a lofty ideal in your heart, you will realize it. I put that up in big words on my wall. Now it's just etched in my mind.
The part that speaks... Hello?
Yeah.
The part that speaks to me is here is a young man and here is a young woman, and you talk about them being in a workshop and living in filth and squalor. Right. That is my story.
Yeah.
And I'm outgrowing the workshop.
That's great. Yeah, that's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Great. Thanks for the reminder to do that wonderful work on audio again. Anyone else want to chime in with a question or feedback or observation?
Hello.
Hello.
Mark?
Yes.
Carl Francis Penders in Buffalo calling.
Carl.
Yes.
Nice to talk to you.
Yes, I just wanted to recommend for all those wannabe 90-year-old rock stars, there's a great film entitled Young at Heart that people might want to take a look at. If you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not. No. Sounds good, though.
It is. It's a great movie about all those seniors who want to become rock stars.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? If that's your dream, if that's your passion, go. I thought, it might even be a very unique thing. I mean, being 90 years old and putting out a rock album might really work in your favor.
Mark, I do want to say that, one of the earlier books that you published, which was quite successful and had a big impact on me, it got to a point, I used to get to this section in the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and I just couldn't face dealing with this question that said, if you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, what would you do? And every time I got to that question, my head would say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, whatever entrepreneurial project I was working on at the time, none of which ever worked out, but my heart always said that I would write. And, finally, about 2 years ago, for some unexplained reason, there's a line in A New Earth that says, life lives you. And my sales went south unexplainably in this job I was working at the time, and I was at the point where they were going to fire me or what have you, and I just decided, well, I've had it with this, and I'm just going to, pack it in with this job, and I'm going to write. And, I've been, doing a couple of part-time things in the meantime, but, just began resuming writing, and, I actually did send you a proposal at one time, if you recall. And, I've had some success and have had things published since then. So
good for you.
Yeah, it's just been great. It was a dream that when I left college, that was my dream to write. So at the age of, my mid-50s, I decided that, I was going to follow that dream.
Oh, that's great, Carl. It really is. It really is.
That question always haunted me, though. What would you do if if you had all the time and the money? It got to the point I didn't even want to, open because I knew it was coming, And I'd heard it, you'd heard it from various sources, different ways, but I think the way Deepak put it, was the most clearly.
Yeah.
And it got to the point I knew it was coming. I just didn't want to, deal with it, but finally I just obeyed the impulse, as Eckhart says.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well,
good. I'm glad you're writing. I'm so glad you're writing.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, this is Roger in Pleasanton.
Hi, Roger.
A question regarding working smarter versus harder. I wholeheartedly agree with that, and this may be one of those moments for me where it's sinking into a deeper level, but I was wondering if you might give some pointers, tips, or suggestions for how one can do that. I mean, how do you know that you're really doing smarter work versus just harder or more?
Well, I think what it involves is asking yourself questions like you're asking now. That's a very good question, even. What does it mean for you to work smarter, not harder? For me, then you start getting answers, and that kind of dialogue with yourself is smart. That's very good. When you start just even thinking, it gets you thinking much more creatively. It engages your creative mind, and so for me, when I think, okay, what does it mean to work smarter, not harder? Well, working smart, I always think, okay, it means you got to get a plan. Got to have a plan. How many people have a plan? And I remember saying to somebody in a seminar, when they said to me, if it's so simple to succeed, and everyone can succeed, which everyone is capable of succeeding, and it's not difficult. You just need these 3 simple things together. They said, well, if it's so simple, why don't more people do it? And I said, how many people dare to dream of what they want to do in the first place? Of those that do, how many people sit down in writing and make a plan, even just a 1-page plan, and then start on that plan and keep at it with persistence? That's what it takes. It's simple, but it's challenging, of course, too, especially because it brings up all our doubts and fears and all that. But that's working smarter. To me, it means looking at that overview, looking at what you really want to be doing in 5 years, and making a plan. That's the smartest thing. I have young relatives. I have a nephew who's got a rock band. I keep calling him and saying, okay, what's your plan? What's the plan now? I think back of my rock band I had in my 20s, we had no plan. That's why it fell apart. We never managed it. We never looked at marketing and sales or financial controls. We had a great product, service. We were just focused on making the music. We didn't sit down and plan what would we do next. We didn't manage. So I'm hammering on my young artistic friends, great, go for your dreams, but make a plan. How are you going to make this work? My nephew, for instance, then with his punk band, he's up in Anchorage, Alaska, where real estate is cheap. So he bought a small house. He managed to get this. He actually bought land and built a house. Then he bought the lot across the street, and then built a house on that. Worked with some friends, and then he moved to Anchorage. He got a 3-bedroom house, and then he bought the house across the street, and all the while just playing music with his band, but also working as a bartender. And he was still 20-something, and now he's into his 30s, so he's getting real serious. But he already owns 4 pieces of property. 3 of them are income property. And I said, okay, that's your plan. You develop enough income property to completely support and keep your overhead down, and then in a few years he can have it set up so he's making enough money from his rental income that he can just do his rock band full-time, and it won't even matter whether they make money or not. I mean, hopefully they will, but he's got his plan, and it's a very solid, sensible plan because it's based on real estate income while he does his rock dream. I think that's a good plan. But that's working smart.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, and it goes hand in hand, then you segued it together with, or you weaved it together with the expenses and keeping the expenses down. That's all part of the plan, and it's all part of working smarter, all focused on your dream.
Yep. And just keep in mind, you just need those 3 things. You need some product or service you're creating, some way to market and sell that, and then keep your expenses down, financial controls.
Hello, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. This is me, Beacus, calling from Atlanta. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, I kind of joined in late because it was saying that this line is busy. I guess you must have a lot of callers today, right?
Yeah, there's something wrong with the line, too, because it's supposed to take 100 callers, and there's not that many on.
Okay. Well, now the question was, you may have answered it, but I'm not really sure. Like, before you create your product or service, is it important to know exactly what you're passionate you are, or should you focus on creating a product that is targeted to the needs of the market, of your customer?
I think it really should start with your passion. Really starts with your dream. What do you really dream of doing? And Oprah said a brilliant thing about that. She said, if you don't know what your passion is, one of the most important things you can do is find out. I think it really starts with your passion. What do you love to do?
Yeah, because I have like 5 different things. Like one of the things that I know I want to write a best-selling book. I mean, that has been a dream of mine ever since I've been in college. And the other dream is I want to create, like the next Facebook or the next MySpace. I want to create a internet company. So I'm not really sure which one I should start first.
Right. I meet a lot of people like that. I was the same way because I always had books and music. I wanted to write my own books and record my music and have my publishing company. And I ended up saying, I can do all of it. I'm going to go for it all. I'm going to make a plan that's multifaceted. I'm going to write books. I'm going to record music. I'm going to start a company. And by keeping for each I have a separate, clear goal, and each I have a plan. And what happens then is one will gain momentum far sooner than the other, and one will work out faster than the other. But I wouldn't say you'd have to sacrifice anything. You can, why not be the creator of a really brilliant social network website or whatever and write a best-selling book?
Yes, but did you, when you had all those expansive dreams, and did you feel like you were sometimes out of balance? Like one time you were writing your books, but your music wasn't taking place. Like, did you have to work really hard at balancing all of that?
Well, I try not to work really hard. I keep affirming I'm doing everything in an easy, relaxed manner in a healthy and positive way. And it really does mean I literally, I'll work on a book for a while, and then I'll get up and I'll go play some music. And then I'll get up and go into my office, and I go from one thing to another. Now, things definitely they gain momentum. Like when I'm midway through a book, it starts gaining momentum. And then like finishing a book, everything else will be put to the back burner, and I'll finish the book.
Yeah,
but that's just following my own energy.
Yeah, because, as I see your career and I study that, I see that you have done so many different things. You've composed music, you have created the publishing company, but all of those, you started writing books, right? Was that the thing that launched?
I sort of did, yeah. And then when I got my company idea, I do remember our first little catalog. I had 6 different things in there. I put books, I put music, and so I just started. I had my first little book out. I had my first 2 funky little albums out. We did seminars, and I threw everything in there thinking something's going to work first.
Were you able to sign up like a big name in those days when you're just starting out? That must be hard, right? If you're just the beginning.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta build a track record. I did the first 3 books.
But what was Shakti Gawain's book? Was that the first major success that you had?
Right. Yep, that was the 4th book I published, and she was totally unknown then.
Right.
She just wrote a great book that started. At the time, the entire company was Shakti and me, and Shakti didn't do much. She did some bookkeeping and shipping, and then we got people to do bookkeeping and shipping.
So at the beginning, you had to wear. Between you and her, you had to wear many different hats, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's for sure.
And you said basically that it took you about 5 years.
It took me 5 years, yeah. And I've often thought, if I knew then what I know now, I know it would have been a lot faster.
Right.
But it did take 5 years of losses. I had no idea of financial controls. But we had good product out within a year or so. And then we got some good marketing and sales within 3 years or so, and we still kept losing money. And I finally, after about 5 years, met the right financial person that literally taught me about financial controls.
Yeah, I was studying with this marketer. He said that whenever you're creating, whether it's writing a book or whatever you do, he said always keep in mind the pain. When you're doing whatever product you're creating, picture the pain that your customer is facing. He's feeling, and then create a faith around that. So you're picturing the end consumer, because that's who you're creating, either the book or whatever you're doing. You're doing it to serve them. So you want to keep their needs in mind first. A lot of people, when they do marketing, they focus on themselves.
Right, and that's very good advice. It's true creating the product too. Most books that are submitted to us, it's all about the author and the author's stories, and the books that tend to work are directed toward their audience. And as you pick up that book and look at it, and right there clearly on the back cover is what this book will do for you as a reader. Right. Rather than, so that's very good advice, actually.
Well, I'm definitely going to keep that in mind because I mean that's my goal is to get published by you guys. So I mean
Great.
that's one of my dreams.
Yeah, write a book like The Power of Now. I mean it'll be totally unique, but The Power of Now, he spent about a page and a half in the beginning telling his story, and then the rest of it was just directed right to the reader. Right to the reader.
Yeah, I mean, what it seemed to me like, I mean, that book was just ready because, I mean, the way it seemed to me like he went through and he spent many years to the preparation and hard work, and he wasn't making nothing. I mean, he was literally starving back in those days, right? I mean,
well, he made very little, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was in very dire straits, and then all of a sudden now he's really this world class. I mean, spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been wonderful to see his success. Yeah, he waited 20 years to write his book. I mean, he had this amazing experience at 29, and he spent 20 years teaching and thinking about it and reflecting before he finally wrote an absolutely great book.
Hey, Mark, hi.
Yes.
This is
Hi.
Carrie, and I have a question to follow up with what you just said. So,
great.
And I think this is $1 million question. You'd mentioned, the success of Eckhart, and he's been a huge phenomena. And I know you've published so many other really great books, and some of my favorites are your Visionary series books. What do you think, in your opinion, really made his work and his book so different, so unique? I mean, I know he was on Oprah and that, but I think it's more than that. And, really, what do you think that one thing you would, why it was so successful beyond anything else that was out there?
I asked Eckhart that. And he just kind of smiled and thought about it, and he said he waited to write each sentence until it totally came from presence. The book is not written out of his mind. He wasn't engaged intellectually with it in a way. And he had an interesting thing. He said he was originally in England, and then he came out to Northern California, Sausalito, and that's where he started writing. And then he went back to England, and he found he couldn't write in England. So he came out back to the West Coast and went up and down and ended up in Vancouver, and that's where he could continue writing and where he finished his book, and then where he met the woman that published him in Canada. So all along he didn't have a plan in his head to write this book, and he didn't write an outline and have a schedule or anything. He just sat there and waited. I thought of that famous Franz Kafka poem I've got on my wall saying, "You need not leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. You need not even listen. Simply wait. You need not even wait. Just learn to be quiet and still and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet." And that's really what he did. He sat and waited. And I know he works that way. We just did this beautiful Eckhart at Findhorn talk, and put it in a book with an audio and video. And
I have that, yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
It's beautiful. And in there, he sheepishly asked, would we want some of his photos that he took? We said, of course. And he sent these photos, and we said, they're great. And then we said, how about little captions? And he said, oh, yeah. And we said, well, we're rushing the book to the printer. We need the captions this week. And he said, well, I'll do it this weekend. I'll spend the weekend writing the captions. And so we contacted him early next week, and I didn't get a hold of him, but this guy he works with, he said, well, Eckhart spent time, but they didn't come. He didn't do it. So we just waited. And it took him about 2 weeks to write captions for just a dozen, or I don't know how many photographs are there, 20 at most, 12 or 20. little captions he wrote, but he didn't write until they just came to him. And of course, I mean, once he sent them in, we were so glad we delayed the project, and they're absolutely brilliant. They're like no other captions ever written for photos.
So, Marc, if I may ask you a question again, what is your best advice for an aspiring writer? I mean, I want to write. I mean, my goal. I mean, if I can be so candid, I mean, is to write the number one best-selling self-help book. I mean, there's millions of self-help books, but I just want to write one that can at least match Eckhart. I mean, that's actually one of my goals. One of my goals is to. I've been inspired by all your talks, but what would you say? I mean, because I was thinking, like, you know, I can sit here forever and you know, waiting and waiting. I've been waiting, I mean, for the last 3 years. So should I start with a table of contents with an outline so that I can be more focused and engaged, or should I wait for the right time?
I don't think the externals matter about contents or whatever, but, and I don't know about waiting. I think you should just, like that Kafka quote, just sit. Don't wait for inspiration. A lot of writers make that mistake. They never sit down to write. They want to be inspired first. No, get your butt on a chair and sit there regularly and see what comes. But let everything come from the deepest place you can access. You know, let it come from your heart and your passion rather than from your head.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice, because I agree with you about the inspiration, because, you know, you have to trigger that. I mean, if you don't start writing, then the inspiration never comes, and you're always waiting. And I think good writers like him and Deepak and you and all of you guys, and even Shakti, I think they have a schedule, right? They have some kind of ritual that they do to that the unconscious or the universal consciousness gives them the ideas, and then they just write it out. But it comes from something deeper than the ego. It doesn't come from just the ego. It comes from somewhere deep, and that's why it connects with the audience, because people can feel the authenticity because of that. Because it's not just, you know, just, oh, this is my story and that's it. No, it comes. I mean, they come from. One of the quotes you have in your book, it says, from Jesus, it says love and serve. If you focus on those two lines, I think it pretty much, especially the serve part, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Marc?
Yes.
It's Carl again. I just wanted a little quote from Somerset Maugham about inspiration. He was asked if he wrote only when inspired, and he said, yes, I write only when inspired. He says, fortunately, inspiration arrives every morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him.
And as to the question the woman asked previously as to why Eckhart, why he's been so successful, I just read an interview with him. And he said that at the end of the interview, he said he was more kind of almost hermit inclined, in that he would rather be just sitting under a tree or reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he's doing this because he knows that the universe is this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that for me too. It's once the right project gets started, it has an energy of its own, and you just acknowledge that, and it builds. And it's, for me, it's when I start waking up at 3 a.m. with whole paragraphs that pop into mind, or just a sentence pops into mind, and I get up and scroll that down, and it leads to more and more and more, and it feels like I'm not consciously even writing it anymore. It's being written.
So you wake up from sleep at 3 a.m. and you start writing? Is that
Yes.
Wow.
I know a book's really happening when that happens. Yeah.
So, Marc, this is Terry again. I just wanted to ask a follow-up question because this has been very good.
Sure.
earlier we had talked about, whatever you're doing in business is giving people what they want. And going back to Eckhart Tolle, obviously there was a need out there, and with all the books that are out there, there's something different about what he was writing about. What do you think it is that he was giving to people that wasn't already out there?
A depth of 20 years of reflection and his presence. He came up with his own vocabulary anyway, redefining presence and being.
And pain body.
Yes, the pain body.
That was so helpful.
Yeah. Yes, he's native German. When he first went back to Germany, he didn't want to speak in German because he'd made all these discoveries and even come to his own definitions in English.
So how many languages does he speak?
Oh, he went from Germany to Spain with his father when he was 13, and then to England. So he's got...
So he speaks Spanish too?
Spanish and German and English like a native, all three.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can only speak two, Spanish and English.
Good for you. I can only speak one.
Well, the important thing is that you speak it well. At least you know.
Oh, thanks. It's getting late. One more question. Hello?
This is Jim in Butte.
Hi, Jim.
I just wanted to weigh in with Ron and Concord when we were talking about working smarter, not harder. And for me, it's when I'm in a relaxed place, I feel that I'm working smarter because ideas and opportunities come to me, whereas when I'm in a stressed out place, it's like I'm closed in and tight and uncomfortable. So
yeah,
that's something else. I mean, I love having a plan in place is so important. And then if you can stay relaxed with that in place, then things happen kind of automatically without trying too hard. So staying relaxed is so important for me.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just staying relaxed and because so often we just have this constant, as Eckhart Tolle talks about so often, just this constant inner voice going yada 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 yada, and working smarter, not harder, definitely means taking some time to relax that voice, let it go, and ask some questions and listen for something deeper than that surface chatter.
Is that what psychologists call the flow state? Like when you're just getting the ideas and you can't stop because you're in that state. There's this guy that wrote a book called Flow. I haven't read it.
Right. No, I think it is. It's when you're relaxing and just letting it all come through you rather than forcing it in any way.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for all the inspiration. I mean, I think I'm ready to write that book now.
Great. Well,
Mark,
thank you.
Angela,
Yes.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure. Okay. Then we'll wrap it up.
I know you're going to finish, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm looking at your outline here that I printed off the computer, and you talk about the financial controls.
Mm-hmm.
My situation is I have my own company, but unfortunately the finances are not working out very well, and partly because I don't have financial controls.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to look at is how can I get on top of that financial situation now so I can pull myself out of the debt and with my business.
Yeah. I sure talk about it in several books, definitely Millionaire Course and my new visionary business, and I do this lengthier seminar, but it's basically just it's either working with a good conservative person or just doing it yourself, where you really carefully look at every expense and and keep project your next 6 months of expenses, and then look back. Then when the 6 months are up, look on the actuals compared to the projections.
Okay.
And really keep that downward pressure on those expenses.
Yeah, okay. I can do that, but it's coming back to how do I get out of the debt part.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm hoping to do is consolidate my debts,
mm-hmm.
at least at lower interest rates so that I can pay them off a little bit faster.
Yep.
This is a situation, and it's interesting because I have not had a plan. I've had a plan in my head, but I've never put anything down on paper for my business. And so I think if I do sit down and do a plan, that maybe part of the plan is to clear that debt, and I may have to get a part-time job.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
As long as you're doing some part of your passion, right?
Yep. And so long as you have a plan, that's really good. Have a plan and make some kind of plan to get out of that debt. I almost think the specifics of the plan don't matter. They can even change, and it's the intention to turn it around and get out of debt and get on top of it. And it's great. Sit down, make a one-page plan exactly how you're going to do it.
Yep.
For a long time, I set up 3 bank accounts, and when I came in, I would whatever check came in, I would deposit into one, and then I'd automatically transfer 10% or more into a savings account, and then 10% or more into a donation.
Okay.
And at first, then I used all that savings just to wipe out debt.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was telling my subconscious, I'm wiping out my debt and building savings.
Okay.
And I'm donating. And that really worked for me, the 3 bank account system.
Okay, so that sounds good. Now, can I just ask you about donation? Curious.
Sure.
Does the subconscious recognize donation only as money, or can it be time?
Oh, it definitely can be time, yes.
Yeah.
Anything, just giving.
As long as you're donating. Okay, because to me, time for me is actually more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't have the money, but the thing is that my time is very valuable too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't put a price on that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to donate too.
Okay, so basically the subconscious will recognize any of those ways.
Yes.
But what you're telling it is that I am paying off my debt, I am saving, and I am donating.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Thank you so much. Actually, a group of us out in Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, are going to be studying your book.
Oh, excellent.
In their course, yeah. So we're actually starting on Monday. Oh, actually, a week on Monday.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So glad to hear it.
We'll keep you posted how it's going.
Yeah. Let me know. I love hearing about that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Have a good night.
Yes. Thanks to all of you, and God bless.
And Mark, I just wanted to mention we're wrapping up our current mentor program, and our next one is starting about March 13th.
Oh, good. I'm glad you mentioned that.
So I just want to make sure you remember to let everyone know it is a remote program. We send you the products, and then we meet with Mark weekly by phone and go over the lesson for the week, and as well as you have smaller peer groups where you are working on the material in between the calls. And you also receive a half-hour one-on-one session with Mark as part of the program. So there's more information on our website, and like I said, we'll be starting the next mentor program March 13th. And then for anyone in the Bay Area, Mark is leading a workshop with a local artist, Shiloh, on February 28th. And this is about visioning your ideal scene and finding your purpose, and then what are those next steps to start manifesting that. So all that information is on our website, and you can email us if you have questions.
Great. Thanks for that, Gina. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you, and best wishes. And I'll be doing the same thing next month, first Wednesday of March. So talk to you then.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.